So joining us now for more on this is CBS News legal contributor Keir Dougall. Keir, great to see you. So, Steve Bannon has been charged with money laundering, conspiracy, and fraud. What legal consequences could he be facing? And are his lawyers arguing that this could be a case of double jeopardy?
Yeah, so the consequences are potentially severe if he's convicted. He's looking at years of time in prison. Certainly there are questions right now, or there have been questions right now about double jeopardy issues because of an old particularity of New York state law. But I don't believe there are going to be effective or valid double jeopardy arguments that Bannon can employ here. I think he's in the soup.
And what's interesting is Steve Bannon's arraignment is happening later today. What do you expect his plea will be and why? There is, a presidential pardon doesn't cover state crimes. So what do you expect his next move here to be?
Yeah, well, he's going to plead not guilty for sure. I would be shocked if, given the statements that he made today, or made at least in the last 24 hours, disparaging the case, invoking the witch hunt mantra, I would be shocked if he did anything other than what most defendants do, which is to plead not guilty. And then, the case will grind on through discovery and perhaps motion practice, and then there will be a trial in front of a jury, I would expect, which is sort of what we're going to be watching for.
And so, Keir, having looked over what we know now, do you feel like the state's case against him then is pretty strong?
Yeah, so I've taken a pass of the indictment. It is detailed. One of the things that I think they facilitate by charging both money laundering the way they do and the scheme to defraud the way they do is they're able to tell a relatively complete story and give the public at this stage a good picture of the evidence with detailed text messages, laying out the scheme, laying out the dates, who did what when. That is not the way prosecutors always have to proceed. They can simply state a simple charge, but here we have a speaking indictment, which I think does two things. It informs us, but it also will facilitate their ability to get the full story that they want to tell in front of this jury in the courtroom.
Mm. Yeah, interesting stuff. So Keir, you mentioned this earlier, but what steps can you expect both prosecutors and Steve Bannon to take following today's arraignment?
Yeah, so, there'll be questions about bail. There'll be some questions about discovery. I hope that the judge takes some control over the statements that the lawyers will be making in the case. I'm sure that the prosecutors will be speaking only in court, but there's a risk when a defendant or his lawyers are out in front of a microphone of tainting a jury. And so, when we have comments like, this is phony, this is a witch hunt, it has the ability to skew the jury. And the thing that's really important to remember is when you make claims like the charges are phony and this is a government, persecuting me, you have to remember that for over 200 years we have trials by jury of your peers that are picked for their neutrality, picked for their independence. If you have bias, you're removed. And that's what distinguishes us as a country from places like North Korea or Russia. Here, the government can't just say you're guilty and then put you in jail. They have to prove it by a very high standard to a jury. So, this set of arguments from Bannon that it's phony, I hope the judge takes control of this because, honestly, I think he's blowing smoke, and I don't think it's helpful.
And as Tanya had said earlier, you can simply follow the money as prosecutors do in cases like this and say you claimed one thing and the money went elsewhere. So we'll see what a jury may think of that. Keir Dougall, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.